she crawls out of bed without seeing his face. She don't know he been crying. She don't feel that he shakes, 'cause his mind has been racing with what's coming today. And the children are waiting, and the songs are never done, and there's no time for loving. It's just run, run, run. Show herself to the world. Show the world that she can. Show the world that she's grounded. The birds sing from her hands, and the moon starts to fall, and the sun starts to rise, and they meet in the middle for that breath in the sky, and he opens his eyes, so the work is never done, and he calls for his wife, but she's always on the run. The reservation out there is rough and it's dirty. The trees have been cleared and the cattle are dead. And the land is tired, and the young kids are drinking, and the drug lords are moved in, and the elders are thinking it's been 400 years, and we're always on the run. We're always on the run. We're just trying to live. We ain't hurt no one. Said we ain't hurt no one.
They turned their backs. I made it too hard. Every place they touched me is a laceration now. Sometimes the wind comes out of nowhere and knocks you off your feet. And look, see my tears, they fill the whole night sky. The whole
There's a secret that we share, a place we know how to meet you where we hear the ocean calling out our names. And the sun shines down upon the sand till the wind comes back again. Storms that blow in every afternoon. Will you shelter me? Night over water, leaving is harder, harder to hold you from far away. Night over water, moonlight is softer, waves roll us under where we can stay. Come inside, escape the rain, but not the tears and not the pain. Gazing out a window to the sea. You pull me close, close your eyes, let your guard down. No surprise to find you here. Time is standing still. Will you shelter me? Night over water, leaving is harder, harder to hold you from far away. Night over water, moonlight is softer, waves roll us under where we can stay. For a little while.
Friday, we have a band called Dirty Cello that's going to be here. That's going to be an awesome show. Highly recommend you check out Dirty Cello. And then on Saturday, we have another band that's called the Faux Pause. They just released a really cool music video, so that's also going to be a fun show on Saturday. Yeah, so word of mouth, telling people about us. You can also donate instruments to us. If you have a guitar that's sitting around that you need to free up some space, you can give us your guitar. We'll sell it for you. You can either consign that or donate the proceeds to us. And the bar is also run by volunteers, the bar and the venue, entirely run by volunteers. So we've got Mike behind the bar tonight. Thank you, Mike. Huge shout out to Mike. And we've got Dave on sound. Thank you, Dave. And we have Ben on video tonight. And we've also got Jeff taking some pictures for us. So welcome, Jeff. Thank you. And what else do I need to tell you? I need to tell you to turn your phones off, please. Or at least keep them on silent for the performers. Give them your undivided attention, the best gift you can give. And with that, I would like to welcome Joel Underwood. He's got a website he'd like me to tell you about, jtunderwoodmusic.com, so you can check out his upcoming events. He is from Olympia, Washington, our neighbors up in Olympia. And tonight is going to be a night of storytelling about the life and songs of Hank Williams. Thank you, and welcome Joel Underwood from Olympia.
Hi, guys.
Some familiar faces.
Always calms me down. That's good. Oh.
You had a gig in Astoria last night?
No, I was in Long Beach last night at the Blues Festival. Yeah. Come in late last night about 10:30. That baby of mine wouldn't let me in. Move it on over. Move it on over. Move over, little dog, 'cause a big old dog's moving in. Well, she changed the lock on my front door. My door key don't fit no more, so slip it on over. Slide it on over. Move over, old dog, 'cause a new dog's moving in. Well, this doghouse here's mighty small, but it's better than no roof at all. So pack it on over, tote it on over, move over, good dog, 'cause a bad dog's moving in. Well, she warned me not to play around. I done let the deal go down, so slip it on over, slide it on over, move over, cold dog, 'cause a hot dog's moving in. Well, she warned me once, she warned me twice. I don't take no one's advice, so move it on over, move it on over, move over, good dog, 'cause a bad dog's moving in. Well, she crawled back to me on her knees. I'll be busy scratching fleas, so move it on over, move it on over, move over, old dog, 'cause a new dog's moving in. Well, remember, pup, before you whine, that side's yours and this side's mine. So move it on over, move it on over, move over, nice dog, 'cause a bad dog's moving in. Move over, little dog, 'cause a big old dog's moving in. Move over, old dog, 'cause a new dog's moving in. On New Year's Eve, 1952, Hank Williams was scheduled to play a New Year's Eve show in Charleston, West Virginia, and then a matinee the following day in Canton, Ohio. He was going to fly it, but when several flights out of his home in Montgomery, Alabama were canceled due to incoming weather, Williams, who was now facing stiff financial penalties due to years of missed concerts from alcohol and drug abuse, decided to try and drive it. Unable to sit upright in his Cadillac convertible for more than a few minutes at a time due to the spina bifida that had plagued him with constant back pain since childhood, he hires the son of a local taxi cab company owner, the aptly named Charles Carr, C-A-R-R, to drive him the 11-hour, 800-mile trip. The morning of New Year's Eve, they put Hank's guitar and stage clothes in the trunk of the Cadillac convertible and headed off into the mountains. Carr was 17. Hank was 29. He had been born Hiram Williams to Alonzo, or Lon as everyone called him, and Lily Williams, September 17th, 1923, in Mount Pleasant, Alabama. Lily was a large, imposing woman who raised 2 children, worked as a night shift nurse during the evenings, and ran a boarding house during the day. And yes, she was known to have put more than one fellow late with the rent down on his backside with a single swing of her mighty fists. Lon had been drafted into the last days of World War I in 1918. They sent him to France, which is where he sustained the head wound that would shape the rest of his life and Hank's. Now, he claimed he had gotten it from falling off the back of a moving truck during a hasty retreat from the Germans, but as other soldiers came back to town, they told a different story. They said Lon had been hit in the side of the head with a collapsible digging spade by another American soldier during a fight over a French girl that both men were romancing. Either way, after a few months stateside, Lon's face began to paralyze slowly. Finally, 1929, when Hank was only 6 years old, Lily packed up her husband, took him to the VA hospital in nearby Arlington, Louisiana, where he would stay for the next 8 years. Now, in some ways, wasn't a bad deal. It's the height of the Depression, and Lon has 3 squares a day and a roof over his head, more than many. He came to like the place so much that supposedly one day when he thought the orderlies were coming to check him out, he rolled under the bed to hide, reached up, grabbed the metal bed frame up above, pulled himself up, and hung there until he was sure the orderlies had come into the room, looked under the bunk for him, and left. He tried to go home only one time after he'd been there for 3 years. When he got off the bus in his hometown, he walked across the highway to a local gas station to see about calling a cab to get him home. The gas station attendant, upon seeing Lon, started to back up with wide eyes and shaking hands, saying, "Why you doing this to me, Mr. Lon? Why you doing this? I never done nothing to y'all," and then turned and ran. After 2 more such encounters, Lon figured out that Lily had gone around town telling everyone that Lon was dead. The better to claim his VA benefits. Unperturbed, Lon just shrugged, got on the next bus back to the VA, checked himself back in, and stayed there for another 5 years. Well, his absence left young Hank Williams, as the kids were already calling him, without a father, but not without a father figure. You see, when Lily moved the whole family to nearby Georgiana the next year, Hank took up with a black street musician named Rufus Payne. All the kids and the folks around town called him T-Tot. It's from the word teetotaler, meaning somebody who doesn't believe in drinking. Apparently, the name was ironic because T-Tot was never seen without a jug of his own home brew by his side. He played a guitar. He had a harmonica in a harness around his neck, and he had 2 cymbals inside his knees, and so he would give you kind of a one-man band effect. All the little kids in town would follow T-Tot around after school wanting to listen to his songs. Wanted to do more than listen. Now, Hank already had a guitar that he had begged Lily for at Christmas the year before. And one of his uncles had taught him his first few chords, but it was T-Tot who taught him how to infuse the church songs and the folk songs he was playing with a driving rhythm, a willingness to let hurt and pain come into his voice like the black blues singers of the South. Hank would scrounge up whatever change he could find around the neighborhood from doing chores, and he would pay T-Tot for lessons. And the rhythms that Rufus Payne taught Hank Williams would change American music forever. It was the difference between something like, "When you feel sad and lonely and have no place to go," versus, "Come see me, baby, and bring along some dough, and we'll go honky-tonkin', 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 honey, baby, honky-tonkin' round this town. When you and your baby have a fallin' out, come see me, sweet mama, and we'll go steppin' out, and we'll go honky-tonkin', 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 honey, baby, honky-tonkin' round this town. We're going to the city fair. If you go to the city, baby, you will find me there. And we'll go honky-tonkin', 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 honey, baby, honky-tonkin' round this town. When you feel sad and lonely and have no place to go, come see me, baby, and bring along some dough, and we'll go honky-tonkin', 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 honey, baby, honky-tonkin' round this town. Yes, we'll go honky-tonkin' round this town. Yeah, we'll go honky-tonkin' round this town. By lunchtime on that New Year's Eve, 1952, we know that Hank and Charles had made Chattanooga because we know they stopped at a local lunch counter to get a bite to eat. According to witnesses, Hank punches up Tony Bennett's cover of his song Cold, Cold Heart on the jukebox and leaves a $50 tip for a $5 ticket. Not unusual. The snow is already beginning to fall as they head out on the next stretch for Knoxville. It is becoming clear that they will not make Charleston, West Virginia that night, but Hank still has high hopes for Canton the next day. Upon arriving in Knoxville, he has Charles check them into the swankiest hotel in town, the Andrew Johnson. It is named after the Tennessee senator who became Lincoln's second vice president after Lincoln's assassination, the only president to this point in American history to ever undergo both steps of the two-step process, impeachment in the House, voting out in the Senate. It takes two porters to bundle the country music singer up to his room, where we know that Charles orders 2 steaks from room service. Only Hank can't eat his because at some point over the last hour he has developed very bad hiccups. So bad that apparently the front desk of the hotel calls a local doctor who comes to the room and gives Hank 2 shots, B12 for the hiccups and morphine for the back pain. Not to be outdone, Charles decides that he needs to call ahead. And he calls ahead to Canton, Ohio, to Hank's personal pharmacist, Toby Marshall, who is already waiting there with the band and the promoters. When Marshall hears what's going on, he gets very angry, and he tells Charles to get Hank Williams back in the Cadillac and get him up to Canton right away so he can attend to his patient personally. The same 2 porters bundle the country music singer back down into the Cadillac's back seat and watch from the awning, waving on the street as Carr, Williams, and the powder blue Cadillac convertible head into the Blue Ridge Mountains, with night falling all around them. Lily Williams moved her children, Hank and Irene, to Shreveport, Louisiana when Hank was only in junior high school. She had already decided that her young son's musical talent was going to be their family's ticket to bigger or better things, and she set the boy up with that guitar on the sidewalk outside the biggest radio station in the area, WSFA, selling peanuts, of all things. They also had cousins in the area, the McNeils, that they could stay with while they got housekeeping set up. Hank and his cousin J.C. McNeil were the same age, and they used to run wild in the woods around town, chasing squirrels and spying on the local logging camps. In fact, we're pretty sure it was J.C. McNeil who was with Hank when he took his first ever drink of alcohol. See, the boys figured out where JC's dad, Walter, hid his bottle underneath the mattress, and when Walter was sleeping, they would sneak into the room and pull out Walter's bottle, pour it into a bottle of their own, and replace Walter's with water and put it back in. Then they would go out into the woods and drink, as JC later said, till we could have lain on the ground and rolled off. Whether it was because of genetics or emotional trauma or to combat the back pain from the spina bifida that made his skeleton constantly want to curl in on itself, Hank Williams would fight the pull of alcohol, usually losing, for most of his short life. While he was going to talent shows as far away as Selma, Alabama, he heard the voice on the radio that would become his biggest musical influence, Roy Acuff. Acuff sang with a big, full-throated emotional style, unlike anybody else at the time, and his voice came booming out of the radio every Saturday night on WSM's The Grand Ole Opry. And when he toured the South, you couldn't get a ticket. Promoters used to say, for drawing power in the South, there's Roy Acuff, then there's God. It's an ironic statement, considering one of Roy Acuff's biggest hits was a gospel song written by Hank Williams, who Roy Acuff outlived by more than 40 years. Supposedly, one night Hank and his band were coming back into Montgomery. Hank, as he usually had to, was laying across the back seat of the car because of his back pain. He was in so much pain that one of his musicians tried to comfort him. He leaned across the front seat and said, "Hang on, Hank. We back in Montgomery. We just come over the hill and I saw the light." Supposedly, by the time they hit the city limits, Hank was already tapping a rhythm on the back of the driver's seat. I wandered so aimless, my life filled with sin. I wouldn't let my dear Savior in. Then Jesus came like a stranger in the night. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. Sing it if you know it. I saw the light, I saw the light. No more darkness, no more night. Now I'm so happy, no sorrow inside. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. Just like a blind man, I wandered alone. Worries and fears I trained for my own. Now like a blind man, God gave back his sight. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. Here we go. I saw the light, I saw the light. No more darkness, no more night. Now I'm so happy, no sorrow inside. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. I was a fool to wander and stray. Straight is the gate and narrow the way. Now I have traded the wrong for the right. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. Last time, make it a good one. I saw the light, I saw the light. No more darkness, no more night. Now I'm so happy, no sorrow inside. Praise the Lord, I saw the light. You're hired. Get in the van. You sound good. Charles Carr, Hank Williams, and the Cadillac are stopped by the Tennessee State Highway Patrol on that New Year's Eve, about a half hour outside of Knoxville, when Charles Carr supposedly attempts a dangerous pass on a 2-lane stretch of highway. Officer Swan Kitts remembers that the stop happens at about 11:30 p.m. He also testified later that there was a third man in the car. A serviceman, he said, in the passenger seat in some sort of uniform. Now, Charles Carr denies the existence of another passenger, and nobody has ever come forward in subsequent years to identify themselves. Seeing Williams laid out across the back seat, he does not recognize him. And he simply asks Carr if everything's all right. And Carr answers, "Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, he's just been drinking beer the whole trip, and doctor just gave him a strong shot." Unconvinced, the patrolman tells Charles Carr to follow him to the nearby police station in Rutledge. By the time he was in high school, Hank Williams had a band that he called the Drifting Cowboys, and he was playing 2, sometimes 3 shows a night at school dances and movie theaters all over the Deep South. When he would fall asleep in class the next day, says his sister Irene, the teachers would just tell the other kids, "Oh, don't wake him. He ain't learning nothing anyway." His mother, Lily, booked his gigs, drove the station wagon with all the musicians in it, went to the towns the day before to put up posters, helped pick the set list, cussed Hank in front of his band when he messed up songs, took tickets, and watched the door, because nobody, not even family, gets in for free. Now, keep in mind, at some of these early gigs, there might have been an amplifier or two, but there was no PA system, certainly no microphones of any kind. Hank Williams' strong tenor voice with its little bit of a yodel, it develops in part because he's singing acoustically out over a band. Now, luckily, the loudest instruments are always the drums, and there were no drums at this point because everybody's goal was to get on the Grand Ole Opry one day. And the Grand Ole Opry actually didn't allow drums until very recently. The music that Hank was playing would have been called by some folk music, would have been called on some of the radio stations hillbilly music. It was meant as a derogatory term, but it was a label Hank would pick up, dust off, slap on, and wear proudly for the rest of his life. In order to make ends meet, in between these gigs, Hank would work the drive-ins in Montgomery, Alabama. Now, when I say work the drive-ins, what I mean is the drive-ins, you usually went to see a double feature. And there were all these con men in southern cities who had what were called boxes, but they were actually sort of like, you would think of them as kind of like wooden dresser drawers piled up. And the con men would fill them with herbs and oils and purgatives, things like that you needed. And they would employ Montgomery's teens to go from window to window before the movie and in between the 2 movies and sell these products. And the kids could keep a percentage of whatever they sold. Well, Hank was great at this. He was a natural-born con man. And supposedly, it was at one of these drive-ins where he stuck his head inside the window of Audrey Mae Shepherd of Banks, Alabama, put his box out there and gave her his usual first line, "Now, ma'am, don't you think you need some of these here herbs?" According to Audrey, as soon as their eyes met, he very slowly put the box behind him and said, No, I don't think you do." He invited her to hear him sing a couple nights later, and as soon as she did, she said, "I just knew he was going to be on the Grand Ole Opry real soon." She was 19 at the time, already in the process of divorcing her first husband, the father of her 2-year-old daughter, Lucretia, and she and Hank married as soon as they legally could. Thus began the great tug of war in Hank Williams' life between 2 powerful, dominating women, both of whom thought they knew what was best for him, and both of whom saw him as their ticket to bigger, better things. You see, his mother, Lily, rightfully, believed she had been the engine of his career since the beginning. Audrey, on the other hand, saw herself as a singer. And she very quickly began to harangue her new husband into taking her up on stage with him, into the recording studio, even onto live radio spots. The problem, as Hank quickly figured out to his sorrow, was Audrey could not sing. Her timing was suspect and her ear was worse. As one of his guitar players tried to explain to him coming off stage one night, "See, boss, she has a way of singing between the frets, if you get my meaning." The harder she tried, the worse it got. Coming off stage one night after a particularly rough show where the audience had booed every one of her songs, Hank turned to his musicians, took off his hat, wiped his brow, and said, "Men, It's hard to have a wife that wants to sing. It's hell to have one who wants to sing and can't. Hank and Audrey's marriage was loud, it was passionate, it was sometimes embarrassing, sometimes violent, fueled by alcohol on both sides, but it was never boring. They fought constantly. They fought about money, about music, about liquor, about Lily, about money and all sorts of things, about other women and other men. Those fights would often end with one or both of them at the local honky-tonks in Shreveport, Montgomery, Nashville, where they were well-known regulars, getting those honky-tonk blues. Well, I left my home on the rural route. Told my pa I'm going stepping out and get the honky-tonk blues. Yeah, the honky-tonk blues. Well, Lord, I got it. I got the honky-tonk blues. Well, I stopped into every place in town. This city life really has me down. I got the honky-tonk blues. Yeah, the honky-tonk blues. Oh, Lord, I got the honky-tonk blues. Well, I went to a dance, wore out my shoes, spent this morning wishing I could lose those honky-tonk blues. Yeah, the honky-tonk blues. Oh, Lord, I got the honky-tonk blues. Tuck my worries underneath my arm, scat right back to my pappy's farm and lose the honky-tonk blues. Yeah, the honky-tonk blues. Oh, Lord, I got the honky-tonk blues. Oh, Lord, I got the honky-tonk blues. Charles Carr is quickly arraigned and fined $25 at that police station in Rutledge on New Year's Eve, 1952, and he is sent on his way, all without Hank Williams ever having to have gotten out of the back seat of the Cadillac. Mostly because Charles begs and pleads with the policeman not to wake him. By the time they are on their way, it is 1:30 in the morning, New Year's Day, 1953. By that time, Charles Carr and Hank Williams have spent the last 20 hours together. And no doubt, for that 17-year-old young man, what had seemed like an easy job for easy money feels like it's gone horribly wrong. Sighing, he hits the blinker and turns the powder blue Cadillac convertible north onto Highway 19 that's going to cross over from Virginia into West Virginia somewhere near Bluefield. He admits that at this point he was having trouble staying awake. But he claims that he was still alone with Hank in the car. Hank and Audrey Williams wore out the 400 miles of highway from Montgomery up to Nashville over and over and over again during the first 4 years of their marriage, 1943 to 1947. Their goal, as was the goal with everybody in country music at that time, was the Grand Ole Opry. But they were having little success. See, at that point, Hank was caught in the great catch-22 of country music. See, the record companies didn't want to have anything to do with you unless you had a weekly radio show, and were pushing those songs on the radio. But the radio stations didn't want to have anything to do with you unless you had a record contract. Finally, Hank is able to luck into a spot on WSFA's Saturday Night Hayride. It was sort of a Grand Ole Opry minor leagues, and it was an important stepping stone for Hank on the way up and would be an embarrassing stop for him on the way back down. So now he's got a weekly radio show, at least an appearance on one. Now he needs two more things. He needs a music publishing contract, and he needs a record deal. Well, he wasn't having much luck. To hear Audrey tell it, she basically dragged her shy husband up and down Nashville's Music Row by his ear for the next 2 years. The problem is Hank wasn't really known outside of the Deep South yet, and what was known was that he had an alcohol problem and that he was getting famous for missing shows and appointments due to it. Lucky for him, two men were moving to Nashville to set up a music publishing business. One was his hero, Roy Acuff. Acuff's partner was the jazz arranger and composer who would quickly become the most important person musically in Hank's life, Fred Rose. He had been a Christian Science follower. He had dealt with alcoholism himself in his younger life. And maybe he saw a little bit of himself in the skinny, perpetually bent-over country singer that his partner Roy Acuff always said had $1 million voice and a 10-cent head. Acuff and Rose set up music publishing in Nashville the same year that Billboard magazine finally created a country and western music chart in its magazine, instead of just rolling country songs in with the folk section. Supposedly, they used to go down into the basement every day at lunch and play, of all things, ping pong. And it was at one of these daily lunch ping pong sessions, according to Fred Rose's son Wesley, who was there, that Audrey walks in, uninvited, pulls her shy husband in behind her, and tells them both he is going to be the next big thing in country music. Now that's something to say when you're standing there in front of Roy Acuff. Well, they asked Hank to sing them a couple songs. He does. And the songs were good enough that they were a little not sure that they were original, so they decide to test him. And they give Hank a theme and tell him to write some lyrics right there in front of him. Well, Hank thinks a moment, and then he starts to beat out a rhythm on the ping pong table. And he came up with something close enough to satisfy that they signed him then and there. Okay, now he's got a weekly radio spot. He's got a music publishing contract. All he needs is a record label. Far, far away in Hollywood, California, MGM Studios was putting out some of the great movie musicals of the day. Maybe you remember some titles like Meet Me in St. Louis and Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. But the record executives were actually sensing missed profits from their studio when they had to share the soundtrack albums with companies like Capitol or Decca. So what do? You start your own record label. So they started MGM Records. Well, what they found out, of course, is that record labels cannot live by movie musical soundtracks alone. So they started calling up producers in New York, LA, Nashville, and asking them if they had anybody they were excited about. And one of the producers they called was Fred Rose. Hank Williams became by far MGM's most successful recording artist of all time. To give you an idea of how successful, on the day he died, MGM, which never became one of the big labels like CBS or Warner, one of those, owned the copyrights to 156 songs total. It's a small amount for a big label. But of that 156, Hank Williams owned the full or partial songwriting credits to 90. 90 of 156. Even crazier when you think of how short a time. His first recording session for them is October of 1947. His last one is October of 1952. 5 years. Wow. All the recorded music we have of Hank Williams, it happens in 5 years. 90 songs. It's an amazing output when you think of how compressed it is. Okay, so now, he's got a weekly radio spot. He's got music publishing. He's got a record contract. He has 2 quick hits with Move It On Over and Honky Tonkin'. And he's trying to catch the attention of the Grand Ole Opry, but they still weren't sure. See, Hank had a reputation as a partying good time playboy, and the nice straight-laced Christian folks at the Ryman weren't sure they wanted any part of that. And by the way, it was a reputation that was pretty well-deserved. In some of his early years, Hank Williams was known to go through a guitar a week on tour. Now, sometimes because he would pawn them for alcohol while he was out on the road, but sometimes because the Drifting Cowboys, whenever they played out in the countryside, they were very popular with the local girls. And when the local boyfriends would jump them in the parking lot after the show, or sometimes up on stage during, I'm watching you people, up on stage during, Hank had a tendency to use his instrument as a weapon. In fact, the great pedal steel player Don Helm said when Hank was first recruiting for a tour of the Florida Panhandle, he took the musicians he wanted, and the first place he took them in Nashville was a local pawn shop. He took them into this dark pawn shop, and there was a shady character behind the bars at the counter at the other end. Hank walks up to him with the musicians, and he says, "You got them blackjacks I asked you for?" And the pawnbroker pulls over a flat drawer full of the weapons, and he hands it under the bars to Hank. Hank hands it around to all the musicians. He says, "Everybody take one. You boys play with me. You're going to need them." And we did. Now, what Hank needed to catch the attention of the Grand Ole Opry was a mega hit, something to get him known outside of the Deep South. Now, around this time, he begins to play a cover tune in his set, a Tin Pan Alley jazz tune from the 30s by Clifford Friend and Irving Mills. It's called the Lovesick Blues. And the audience loves it. They're calling him back for 4 and 5 encores of just that song. You have to understand, at this time in country music, a country music concert was as much a comedy show, really, as a concert. The musicians would do like, we'd call them bits in between the songs. Think hee-haw, if you're old enough. The musicians would go in between the aisles at intermission selling autographed pictures of the artist, lyric sheets and songbooks, anything to help the take from the door. And so a musician had to be as much of a pitchman as a performer. Now, Hank, from his time at the drive-ins back in Montgomery, was awesome at this. We're going to play a song for you now. It's about me and the boys, A Good Mess of Beans of late. We sure do hope you like it. After that, the fellas are going to be coming through the crowd with a few autographed pictures, maybe some songbooks if you feel so inclined. Don't get me wrong, folks. I don't need the money. Companies I owe it to seem to need it awful bad, though. Kick it off, Don. 1, 2. Now, Hank was feeling like Lovesick Blues might be the song he had been looking for. The audience response was rabid. It was consistent. There was only one problem, and that was Fred Rose. Fred Rose hated Lovesick Blues. To the day he died, he hated it. Oh, he hated it. He hated it so much. Fiddle player Tommy Jackson says he still remembers the recording section, October 27th, 1947, when Hank played it for them the first time, Cincinnati, Ohio. He plays it for the whole band and Fred goes, That's the worst song I've ever heard. That's the song you've been talking about? We can't waste time and money on that. You might not like it, says Hank, but when I play it and it hits so damn hard, I can walk off stage, throw the hat back on stage. Goddamn hat can take the encores. Well, that's pretty damn hot, and we're going to lay it down. Don't you do it. Don't you do it, says Fred. All the musicians are scared. They've never seen Fred and Hank fight like this before. Tommy Jackson says he's down behind the mixing console in case they actually start fighting. The great pedal steel player Jerry Bird would later say about the session, Fred had lazy eyes. They went two different ways. He could not look anybody in the face. And yet, at this moment, he was so mad that by a medical miracle, he was staring directly at Hank Williams and saying, "Don't you do it! Don't you do it!" Well, Fred walks out. He says that they can record it if they want to, but he wants no part of it. 2 weeks after they record it, Hank gets a phone call backstage at a Louisiana hayride show. It's from MGM Records, and they tell him that Lovesick Blues has already sold 50,000 copies. By March of the following year, it's on the charts, and on May 9th, Lovesick Blues becomes the #1 song in country music. Well, the Grand Ole Opry cannot deny him now. And on the first night he plays there, they call him by the nickname they're going to call him every time thereafter that he plays there. All right, calm it down. Calm it down. Calm down, girls. Calm down in that front row there. Here we go. And in 5, 4, 3, 2. That's right. WSM's the Grand Ole Opry. Out of Nashville, Tennessee, we're proud to present young fellow that we've been trying to get here for some time now. That's right, girls. Mr. Lovesick Blues himself, Hank Williams. I got a feeling called the blues, oh Lord, since my baby said goodbye. Lord, I don't know what to do. All I do is sit inside. That last long day she said goodbye. Oh, Lord, I thought I'd cry. She do me, she do you, she got that kind of loving. Lord, I love to hear when she calls me sweet and daddy. Yeah, such a beautiful dream. Hate to think it's all over. I lost my heart, it seems. I've grown so used to you somehow. Lord, I'm nobody's sugar daddy now, and I'm so lonesome. I got the lovesick blues. Well, I'm in love with a beautiful gal. That's what's the matter with me. I'm in love with a beautiful gal. She don't care about me. Well, I tried to keep her satisfied. She just wouldn't stay. Well, now that she is leaving, this is all I can say. I got a feeling called the blues, oh Lord, since my baby said goodbye. Lord, I don't know what to do. All I do is sit inside. I've grown so used to you somehow. Lord, I'm nobody's sugar daddy now, and I'm so lonesome. I got the lovesick blues. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take a brief little intermission here, a little pause for the cause. As I always tell my college students back up at Pierce, I'd like this to be a 10-minute intermission, so can we please keep it to 15 minutes? Feel free to avail yourself of maybe a libation or two at the bar. Please do remember to take good care of your bar and wait staff that's taken such good care of you. Feel free to make use of the facilities, and we'll be right back here. The fellas will be coming through with some autographed pictures and a few lyric sheets. Thank you so much for coming out, and to the Artichoke for having me. Got a feeling called the blues, oh Lord, since my baby said goodbye. Lord, I don't know what I'll do. All I do is sit inside. I've grown so used to you somehow. Lord, I'm nobody's sugar daddy now, and I'm so lonesome. I got the lovesick blues. Yeah, I'm so lonesome. I got the lovesick blues. Thank you, folks. I'll be right back. Appreciate you coming out. I have my Woody Guthrie show, my Hank Williams show, and my Bob Dylan show. And I did Woody here last year, and they were nice enough to invite me back for Hank. So yeah, that's fun. And then yeah, Bob's still out there, 85. He's still touring. As a matter of fact, up in my neck of the woods in Seattle, he's coming to the Chateau Saint Michel winery. Although I hear it's a little weird. Apparently, unless you're a really hardcore Dylanite, you're a little ticked because he's coming out with a piano and singing some of the real deep cuts. Like he's not coming out and doing like a Rolling Stone and Times They Are a Changin'. He's doing What's a Sweetheart Like You, doing in a dump like that. Unless you really like the deep cuts, people are coming away from it going, man, he didn't play, Blowing in the Wind and stuff like that. So if you want to hear those songs, you got to come see me. Yeah. Yeah, Chateau Saint Michel. It's up in Woodinville. Edgefield, yeah. Whew. I'm always so wonderfully pleased that people stay. This is nice. Hey, good looking. What you got cooking? How's about cooking something up with me? Hey, sweet baby, don't you think maybe we could find us a brand new recipe? I got a fresh pack of Luckies and a $2 bill. I know a place just over the hill. There's soda pop and the dancing's free. If you want to have fun, come along with me. Hey, good looking. What you got cooking? How's about cooking something up with me? Well, no more looking, I've been tookin'. How's about keeping steady company? I'm free and I'm ready, so we can go steady. How's about saving all your time for me? I'm gonna throw my date book over the fence. Buy me one for 5-10 cents. Keep it till it's covered with age. I'm writing your name on every page. Hey, good looking. What you got cooking? How's about cooking something up? How's about cooking something up? Oh, how's about cooking something up with me? We're back. It was the wee hours of the morning on New Year's Day, 1953, when, according to waitress Hazel Wells, Charles Carr and Hank Williams both walk into the Doughboy Lunch Restaurant. It was a 24-hour greasy spoon near the Virginia-West Virginia line, and they said they needed help. They needed somebody to help them drive to Canton, Ohio by that afternoon. Both men looked exhausted, Hazel said, so she pointed them at a guy named Don Surface. He was a local cab driver who usually did the graveyard shift around town. When he heard their offer, he agrees to help them drive to Canton, Ohio, as long as they also agree to pay his bus fare back to Bluefield. On a handshake deal, Surface gets behind the wheel of the Cadillac convertible and heads it north on Highway 19. Don Surface died in 1965 and somehow was never interviewed by any law enforcement about the events of that night. On May 26, 1949, Audrey gave birth to Hank Williams Jr., who I could do a whole nother show about. All Audrey said at the time was that he was 10 pounds, 2 ounces, and damn near killed the both of us. Now, Hank, in order to stay on the Grand Ole Opry, had promised the fine folks at WSM that he was going to stay clean and sober for an entire year. And according to his country music colleagues, he was doing pretty good. Good enough that by that summer, they felt confident enough to send him out on one of their famous Opry tour circuits. Now, in an attempt to keep him on the straight and narrow, they paired him up most of the time with a young female comedian who Hank adored and who they thought he would listen to and stay out of the bars. Her name was Sarah Ophelia Coley Cannon. But Opry audiences knew her better by her trademark price tag hat, her stage greeting of howdy, and her stage name of Minnie Pearl. Hank loved Minnie. And it was Minnie who had to try to keep Hank from sneaking off to get a cocktail. It was Minnie who had to call back to WSM when Hank had, in fact, snuck off to have one too many before a show. And it was Minnie who more than once had to try to get him sobered up on black coffee before they went out there. According to friends and family, Hank had a bad combination. He had a predilection for alcohol, but he had a weakness to alcohol. So, in fact, it didn't take much to get him hammered, but he tended to binge drink. For Hank, alcohol was an escape from his back pain, from the hecticness of his country music life, from the sense that, as he put it, everybody around him was working an angle, that everybody wanted something from him. Well, neither Hank nor Audrey had had much as kids growing up. So now that they suddenly had money from royalties and performance fees, they bought. I mean, they bought. They bought anything and everything. Hank bought Audrey a house in downtown Nashville, and she proceeded to stuff it full of Asian dishware, mismatched Greek and Roman statuary, to the point that Hank said he could barely walk through some rooms. Anything, as long as it looked expensive. They bought each other matching Cadillacs that they would both drive over all over Nashville and park wherever they wanted, legal or not. Now, being a child of the Depression, and if any of you have parents or grandparents that are of that generation, you might remember they never really trusted banks ever again, despite all of FDR's safety measures. And so Hank never actually had bank accounts. He would use banks to cash his checks, but then he would walk around with cash. He never actually opened up accounts. So he would come home off the road literally with $100 bills spilling out of his coat pockets. That is how he could be, according to his musicians, simultaneously the best-selling artist in country music and unable to cover the lunch check when they would stop for a meal out on the road. Supposedly near the beginning of 1950, he was coming home off the road, and Audrey had heard about one of his many tour affairs. She met him at the door to their house in Nashville, yelling at him about it. Hank didn't even try to talk to her, turned right around, walked into downtown Nashville, bought her a diamond necklace. Came back, tried to hand it to her. She just threw it past him out into the yard. Hank went, sat in his Cadillac, started beating out a rhythm on the steering wheel. The song he wrote over that next hour would become a hit for him. TV's Mitch Miller of Follow the Bouncing Ball. And CBS's newest crooner, a young man named Anthony Benedetto, would later become Tony Bennett. I tried so hard, my dear, to show you're my every dream. But you're afraid each thing I do is just some evil scheme. In anger, unkind words are said that makes the teardrops stop. Why can't I free your doubtful mind, melt your cold, cold heart? Another love before my time made your heart sad and blue. So my heart is paying for things I didn't do. The more I try to care for you, the more we drift apart. Why can't I free your doubtful mind, melt your cold, cold heart? You'll never know how much it hurts to see you sit and cry. You know you need, want my love, but you're afraid to try. Why do you run and hide from life? To try it just ain't smart. Why can't I free your doubtful mind, melt your cold, cold heart? There was a time when I believed you belonged to me. Now your heart is shackled to a faded memory. The more I try to care for you, the more we drift apart. Why can't I free your doubtful mind, melt your cold, cold heart? Why can't I free your doubtful mind, melt your cold, cold heart? The sun was just beginning to come up over the mountains in West Virginia when dawn surfaced. Charles Carr, Hank Williams, and the Cadillac pull into a little gas station near Mount Olive. They needed gas and coffee if they were going to make sound check by that afternoon. According to Charles Carr's account, he looks into the back seat and sees that Hank's hat and blanket have fallen off at some point, quote, in the last hour. When he reaches back to move the blanket back into position, it catches on Hank's arm, which is now stiff. Unnerved, the young 17-year-old man runs into a nearby coffee shop and yells, "Hey, hey, he needs help!" The only patron in there, who is a little old man who's there having an early New Year's Day breakfast, shambles back out to the Cadillac with him. The two men open the back seat door of the caddy, look inside, and then the old fella turns to Charles and says, "Son, you got a problem." The years of 1951 and 1952 in the life of Hank Williams, leading up to his death, are full of conflicting accounts. For instance, the Grand Ole Opry says they fired him for missed concerts and backstage drinking. Hank says he quit because he could figure out that he could make more money back in Louisiana on the Louisiana hayride. Audrey claims that they were still married when Hank took up his affair with Bobby Jett of Shreveport, Louisiana. The two of them had a passionate romance, and Bobby Jett became pregnant with a daughter. Hank claims Bobby Jett was between his two marriages. With his marriage descending into a crashing chaos and his career on the downslide, a shady figure now enters Hank Williams' life. A fellow who insinuated himself into Hank's family, even becoming friends with his mother, Lily, becoming sort of an adjunct family member. Toby Marshall, first described himself as a doctor, then a pharmacist, then a personal therapist, whatever that means. He would later admit in a forgery trial in Chicago that he either created or bought each of those licenses. He was hanging out in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He claimed on his billboards that he had been an alcoholic but had simply been able to end his craving. And he said he could do the same for anybody who signed up as a client. When Hank was touring Oklahoma, he saw the billboards and called Marshall up. Hank kept Toby's prescription pad busy, as his therapies were basically morphine, amphetamines, and the hot new painkiller in the South, chloral hydrate. It became the hot painkiller when, and I swear I'm not making up anything I'm telling you here tonight, ladies and gentlemen, a jaguar escaped from the Tulsa Zoo and was terrorizing at night, jaguars are nocturnal hunters, the downtown sidewalks of Tulsa. Well, the city fathers decided that they were going to catch the beast by leaving steaks, raw meat, up and down the sidewalks pumped full of chloral hydrate. Sure enough, 2 mornings later, they found the beast fast asleep on a downtown Tulsa sidewalk beside a partially consumed steak. They took the beast back to the zoo. No mess, no fuss. All the papers reported it, and chloral hydrate pills became the favorite of doctors south of the Mason-Dixon line. Now, what the papers did not report is 2 weeks later when the poor beast died of double lung collapse from sedative overdose. Toby Marshall was a devotee of chloral hydrate, and therefore so was Hank Williams, often taking handfuls of the pills when he was supposed to take just one. With his marriage reaching a messy end, Hank's mother, Lily, came back and took her previous place at her son's side, but by now, Lily was either unable or unwilling to keep her son on the straight and narrow. With his marriage to Audrey over and his affair to Bobby Jett done, Hank now falls head over heels in love with Billie Jean Jones of Montgomery, Alabama. Like Audrey, she was just 19 when they met. Like Audrey, she was still in the process of divorcing her first husband. Now, Hank and Billie Jean's marriage is a matter of some dispute. They certainly had a big downtown Nashville wedding, but both Audrey and Lily claim that the marriage was invalid because she was still married to her first husband. Like his first marriage, his second one was contentious, loud, sometimes violent. He gave Billie Jean more than one black eye. She would leave him and come back, and leave him and come back. As for Billie Jean, if she thought she was entering into a fairy tale romance with a world-famous country music singer, she had no way of knowing she was signing on to be the nursemaid of a drug addict and alcoholic whose body was starting to shut down. According to Billie Jean, he couldn't sit upright in his car for more than 5 minutes without beginning to be short of breath and turn blue. Apparently, he couldn't sleep for more than a couple hours at a time without having to wake up and take more handfuls of chloral hydrate, and apparently he often lost control of his bodily functions. To make matters more complicated, he might have been married to Billie Jean, but he never stopped thinking about or talking about Audrey. They had absolutely tortured each other in so many ways and on so many levels, but she clearly still owned real estate in his heart. Apparently, one night driving back from Nashville, Hank in the back seat, Billie Jean in the front, Hank got so upset, so irritated, talking about her, talking about Audrey, talking about her, and just yelling about. Finally, he snaps at Billie Jean and says, "Get that pencil out of that glove box right there. Get that pencil. Write this down, just like I say. Write it down, every word. Just write it down. Your cheating heart will make you weep. You'll cry and cry and try to sleep, but sleep won't come the whole night through. Your cheating heart will tell on you. When tears come down like falling rain, you'll walk around and call my name. You'll walk the floor the whole night through. Your cheating heart will tell on you. Your cheating heart will pine someday and crave the love you threw away. The time will come when you'll be blue. Your cheating heart will tell on you. Let's do it together now. When tears come down like falling rain, you'll walk around and call my name. You'll walk the floor the way I do. Your cheating heart will tell on you. You'll walk the floor the whole night through. Your cheating heart will tell on you. According to the police blotter, in Oak Hill, West Virginia, New Year's Day, 1953, a call came into the police station about 7:30 a.m. from a Burdett's filling station. Deputy Sheriff Howard Janney took the call, told everybody to stay right where they were, headed over to Burdett's in his police car. There he observed a powder blue Cadillac convertible with a body in the back seat. The body, although it was still warm to the touch, rigor mortis had clearly set in on the arms. He told the two panicked drivers to follow him to the nearby Oak Hill Hospital. Charles Carr watches one more time as two people bundle his backseat passenger out of the car, this time onto a gurney. And there, in the emergency room of Oak Hill Hospital, Dr. Diego Nunari pronounces Hiram Hank Williams dead on arrival, New Year's Day, 1953, age 29. According to Charles Carr, he then makes two phone calls back home. One to his daddy to please come get him, and the other to Hank's mother, Lily, to inform her of her son's death. According to Charles, all she says is, "Don't you dare let anybody touch that car." Hear that lonesome whippoorwill, he sounds too blue to fly. The midnight train is winding low, so lonesome I could cry. Did you ever see a night so long when time goes crawling by? The moon just went behind a cloud to hide his face and cry. Did you ever see a robin weep when leaves begin to die. Like me, he's lost the will to live. I'm so lonesome I could cry. The silence of a falling star lights up a purple sky. And as I wonder where you are, I'm so lonesome I could cry. Yes, as I wonder where you are, I'm so lonesome I could cry. In many ways, Hank Williams' death did not end his contentious life. Over the next 2 years, not only would his physical body get dug up and moved around a couple of times, both Audrey and Billie Jean would perform on stage under the billing of Mrs. Hank Williams. And a series of contentious court cases would surround the both of them. Audrey and Lily had hated each other during Hank's life, but now, after he was dead, they were united by a common enemy in Billie Jean. And all their time, all their money, all their energy was spent in lawsuits, making sure that Hank Williams Jr. would be the only legitimate heir to the Williams legacy. Finally, 2 years later, exhausted, broke, Billie Jean actually remarried again, gave up all her lawsuits, and gave up any future claims to the Hank Williams catalog for a flat sum of $60,000. Now, this is a huge amount of money at the time, but nobody could have known that just a couple of years later, Hank's catalog would be worth tens of millions of dollars. Bobby Jett, not feeling like she was fit to be anybody's mom at the time, put their baby up for adoption, and it wasn't until the girl was a teenager that she began to wonder about her birth story, and she went investigating and got some answers for her musical abilities. Since the 90s, she has performed as Jet Williams. As for Hank Williams Jr., Audrey had him out on stage with a new version of the Drifting Cowboys, including herself, singing his daddy's songs, wearing his daddy's hats and clothes, by the ripe old age of 8. Kid never had a chance. Audrey herself died of heart failure due to alcohol abuse in 1975. It could be said that Hank Williams died before he ever got the chance to make a bad record. You see, country music was going to change a lot over the next few years as they got scared by the oncoming monolith of rock and roll. And Chet Atkins came to Nashville and created the Nashville sound, which was much smoother with big string arrangements and big choral harmonies in the back, and sounded very, very different. Some of those artists who had done well up to that point, like Jimmy Rogers, Roy Acuff, they didn't navigate those new waters as well. And their careers suffered as a result. Now, here's the thing. Hank might not have done as well either, but he never had to find out. He left the stage while his form of music was at the very top. And in many ways, if you listen to that new rock and roll they were so scared of, it's already got Hank Williams in it. Listen to Rock Around the Clock, to Chuck Berry or Jerry Lee Lewis, Fats Domino. You know, you'll hear Move It On Over. You'll hear Mind Your Own Business, which are basically the same song. You'll hear Hank in there. Even more so, before Hank came along, white singers kept the audience here at an emotional arm's length. Yeah, sure. Roy Acuff allowed his voice to break, let it become emotional, but nobody ever confused the song with the singer. Nobody ever thought that Roy Acuff or Jimmy Rogers or Farron Young or any of those guys had ever actually done the things they were singing about. Hank, he was doing what the black blues singers of the South had been doing years before. Further back, he was doing what Van Gogh had done. Further forward, he was doing what Kurt Cobain would do, opening themselves up and putting their own personal, private pain on display for the listening audience, both to better deal with for themselves and to show people who were listening, whatever you've gone through, somebody else has gone through it before, that you're not alone. For somebody who is given credit for taking country music large scale, Hank Williams did it by making country music expressly, intensely, extremely personal. On the morning of December 31st, 1952, Hank Williams put his clothes and his guitar into the back of his powder blue Cadillac convertible, got into the back seat, but before he laid down, he leaned forward across the seat and tried to take a shot at getting to know this 17-year-old young man that he was paying to drive him to his next two gigs. The gigs that were going to help him get back on top. He said, "So, you know my music, young fella, huh?" Charles Carr answered truthfully, "Some, sir. It's not really what I listen to." That's all right, said Hank, and he leaned back down across the back seat, and then he popped up. He said, "Hey, how about that new one I got? You hear it? Woo, all over that radio. What you think of it?" I don't rightly know, sir. I can't understand most of the words in it. I don't speak no French talk." That's all right, said Hank, leaning back down across the back seat and putting his hat over his eyes. He could already feel the thumps of the tires on the road, and he knew that pretty soon the snowflakes were going to be hitting the back windshield and melting and running down in streaks. Before they even got out of the city limits, he was tapping a rhythm on the back of the driver's seat with his fingers. "Goodbye, Joe, me gotta go, me oh my, me gotta go pull the P-road down the bayou. My Yvonne, sweetest one, me oh my, son of a gun, we're gonna have big fun on the bayou." Come on! Oh, jambalaya and a crawfish pie, filet gumbo, 'cause tonight I'm gonna see Mama share me. Oh, big guitar, fill fruit jar, me oh my, son of a gun, we're gonna have big fun on the bayou. Now, Thibodeau, Fontenot, and the place is buzzing. Kinfolk come see Yvonne now by the dozen. Dress in style, go hog wild, me oh my, son of a gun, we're gonna have big fun on the bayou. Last time, make it good. Jambalaya and a crawfish pie, filet gumbo, 'cause tonight I'm gonna see Mama share me. Oh, big guitar, fill fruit jar, and big gale, son of a gun, we're gonna have big fun on the bayou. son of a gun, we're gonna have big fun on the bayou. Yeah. Thank y'all so much. It's a lot of fun. Thanks to Artichoke for having me. I'll see you next time. Appreciate you. Thank you.